stories. Let's talk to Mike Buckley. Mike, very good morning to you. We've just been talking, before we get started on our domestic front, and we've just been talking about the debate last night. Some of the clips that we've been showing show Joe Biden is not in a very good way. Democrats now said to be sort of panicking and trying to figure out whether they could get Gavin Newsom in before November.
Yeah, I mean, I watched some clips and read some reports this morning, obviously, and the clips I saw, Biden was really not good at all. No. I mean, I know there were great concerns amongst Democrats going into this, thinking, well, how's he going to perform? Is he going to pull it off? Is he going to be on a good day? Is he going to be on a less good day? And unfortunately, watching it, he was just not on a good day at all. It was genuinely dire. If you haven't watched the clips yet, I would encourage you to do so, because it was not a good representation. If he needed to go into this to show energy, to show charisma, to show that he was above his name, still capable of the job, very sadly, he did not show that. No. And that is incredibly important, because of the person that he's up against, who certainly, in my view, is entirely inappropriate to be president of anything, and certainly of the United States. So the Democrats really do need to have a long, hard think about whether Biden can make it through and win, crucially, or whether they need to... I
don't think that's even in question now. I just don't think he can. I think there's no question that... and in fact, you say that you don't think Trump is a suitable candidate. I don't think Joe Biden, looking at him perform last night, should even be president now. I think they might have to consider pulling the plug on him, because, you know, can you really take that man seriously if he's sitting in a room negotiating peace with, you know, Israel and Palestine, if he's negotiating anything with China? You know, I mean, he just doesn't look like he knows what he's doing.
I mean, it's a fair point based on the debate performance yesterday, but then if you remember the State of the Union address, which was not very long ago, he actually came out and was pretty punchy and on the ball.
He was, and everyone said, "What have they pumped him? What have they pumped him full of?" You know.
Well, I don't know. I think really he's getting on, but he has good days and bad days, and clearly the debate was not a good time for him. But you're right, being as voters will be watching this and will be deciding based on the performance, this is not good. And these clips are going to run, right?
Of course. Of course.
This isn't going to be forgotten in a few weeks. These clips are going to live forever online.
Exactly right. And I think if anybody was in any doubt about how you would feel if this was your leader, I mean, just imagine if we were having an election right now with 6 days to go, and the Prime Minister was Joe Biden, and the Prime Minister went to a debate and performed like that. I think everyone would say, I'm not sure he should even be the Prime Minister for the next week.
Well, I mean, I think in a way, very, very sadly, that's a reasonable point. And I'm sure that what I know, because I've read the pieces this morning, senior Democrats are now, A, in a bit of a panic, and B, thinking, well, what can we do about this?
Yes.
But given their system, it's very difficult to do anything unless Biden chooses to stand aside, which he could do and which he may do. But there's no indication that that's the case.
No, indeed. Well, let's talk about matters a bit closer to home. You know, we're getting down to the wire, 6 days to go. The Mail says there's still about 4 million people undecided. I think that's probably true. Rishi Sunak's decided to have a go at Nigel Farage over Vladimir Putin. I guess I don't know whether it was too late for them to respond to some of the stuff that was alleged in the Channel 4 news report last night, which is on the front page of the Times. I mean, does this damage reform? It doesn't seem to be, at the moment anyway, something that those people who were going to vote reform are going to be swayed by.
It's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, in recent polls, the Reformers poll rating has seemed to stagnate or dip slightly, and the gap between them and the Conservatives seems to be growing slightly, which I'm sure is very exciting for people in Conservative central office. And Rishi Sunak... They
don't have a lot to cheer about that way, do they?
They don't have a great deal to cheer about, no. But it does look like it's peaked. And I think the news stories coming out about Farage, I mean, first and foremost, his blatant support for Putin, which is abhorrent. I mean,
well, it's not actually blatant support for Putin, though. But no, he said that what Putin did was wrong, and he's condemned what happened in Ukraine, and he has been very misrepresented by an awful lot of people, including Tobias Ellwood, who I had a big row with just the other day.
He is a long-standing friend of Russia, and he's been outed as such. But then the other thing that's got to them this week, of course, is the fact that this person was recorded giving horrendously racist comments in Clacton. And to be honest, in some ways, I'm surprised this is such headline news. I suspect it is because it was on video.
Yeah.
But there's news out there already. There's information out there already showing that not just canvassers, but also Reform candidates have racist views, have homophobic views. A quarter of them apparently are friends on Facebook with the fascist leader of Great Britain. These are not nice people. They're not normal people. They're not people with mainstream views. And this is that reform has created a home for these people, hasn't got rid of them. They've acted in this case because this person was in Clacton and because it was on video. But when it's just...
Well, I mean, Nigel Farage has condemned the guy, and I think, but the point about it is, Mike, will it affect the vote? And I don't think it will. I think the people that have decided to vote for reform, I'm pretty sure, are still going to vote for reform. They're basically, from what I can see that they're saying currently, and from what we can see here at Talk and people ringing in and stuff, basically people are saying, well, every party has got, some very bad people in it, and so it can be proven. And Nigel Farage himself was talking about the Labour candidate in Clacton last night. So, while of course it's abhorrent what this guy was saying, there's no question about that. My question is does it affect their vote? I'm not sure it does.
I think it will affect their vote, and you are right, of course, to say that not every member of every other political party is perfect. But I mean, as has been, it's been a recurrent news story in the last few years. Labour has spent the last few years going through its records, and anybody who is a member who's deemed to have done or said something bad in a meeting or posted something online, particularly anti-Semitic, but also objectionable in other ways, has been rooted out of the party.
Well, they didn't root out their Rochdale. They didn't root out the Rochdale candidate until after it was too late, and he had to stand as an independent.
That is very true, but they did get rid of him, and they got rid of another candidate who'd said things.
Yeah, which is what Reform has also done. They've got rid of another. There's another candidate in the paper this morning they've just got rid of.
I think the difference is, though, that Labour is a real organisation and a real political party, and they have spent years doing this and getting rid of objectionable people, whereas Reform is not a real organisation or a real political party. It's a company that's run by Nigel Farage. It's a vehicle created... But
Reform have not been set upon by the human rights organisations and said to be anti-Semitic. So, we can go round and round in circles. I'm just interested in how the vote's going to go next week, because I still think Reform are going to be a much bigger player in the election itself than anybody thinks, than any voting poll is showing.
Well, we disagree on that point. I think Nigel has had his moment, really, and I suspect they will get 0 MPs next week. If they get 1 or 2, I will actually be very surprised. Okay. But they will clearly not be a major force in the coming. Well,
I will take this message timed at 7:31 and 39 seconds, and we'll play it back to you on Friday morning and see whether they've got any seats. Let's talk about Labour, because Keir Starmer has apparently upset some of his own MPs because of some of the things he said about Bangladeshis the other night. He came out, and even I was quite surprised he did it, when he was being asked about sending people home. He suddenly sort of picked on the Bangladeshi community and said, well, there's loads of Bangladeshis coming here and nobody's sending them home. So his own MPs have turned on him and said, well, hang on a minute, why are you picking on them?
I think he probably did not mean to say what
I don't think he did.
He was making the point that asylum seekers come to the country, or people wanting to claim asylum. In the old days, we used to process those claims and decide whether somebody could have refugee status or they needed to be returned to their home country. And in the old days, we used to return quite a lot of the people whose claims had failed. Right now, of course, Rishi Sunak has created a system where we don't hear people's claims at all, so everybody can stay forever under the Rishi Sunak system at the public expense. So when Labour gets in, they will start processing claims again and will be determining who can stay, who can be a refugee, live their life.
But according to Keir Starmer's policy, though, they're going to send people home, aren't they? That's what he said.
Well, I mean, Rishi Sunak has done some of that. I mean, he did get a...
Yeah, but we're talking about Keir Starmer here. We're talking about Keir Starmer. I know it's uncomfortable for you to be critical of him, but at the end of the day, he's been criticised by his own MPs because he was threatening to throw a load of Bangladeshis out of the country. And he's also said he's going to send people home. He's saying he's going to send home people who are here from Iran, here from Afghanistan. He's basically, his policy said he's going to send people home.
If people come here and they are not genuine asylum seekers, they ought to return to where they came from, where it is possible to do so. I think everybody across the political spectrum would believe that, and Keir, of course, agrees with that as well. He was making the point that people come from countries which would otherwise deem to be, in normal circumstances, fairly safe, like Bangladesh. However, in singling out Bangladesh in the sentence, it made it sound like a criticism of Bangladesh, which I don't think was intended. He should.
No, but does it not show that he's not very good at thinking on his feet? Because the last couple of times it's happened, he's come out with something which has sounded more dangerous and more damaging to him than it should have done.
I don't think so. I mean, we've got 4 years of evidence actually that he is very good at thinking on his feet. On this particular occasion, he probably shouldn't have mentioned the name of any country, but he did. But
I mean, he also blundered. He also blundered, didn't he, the other day when he said that he thought Jeremy Corbyn would do a better Prime Minister than Boris Johnson.
Well, I mean, I'm not entirely sure that he intended to say that.
No, he didn't. But that's my point. These are two things that he said because he wasn't very good at thinking on his feet, and he ended up saying something that he later sort of had to regret.
However, it is true that Boris Johnson was an absolutely catastrophic Prime Minister and probably the worst Prime Minister this country has seen. Certainly.
Oh, I don't know about that. Well, I think we've had a few worse than that. I imagine.
Possibly Truss. I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, my point is that he's going to be Prime Minister more than likely in 6 days' time, and he'll need to get a bit better at answering questions when he's a bit flustered, because he gets flustered quite easily, it seems to me.
I don't think he gets flustered easily at all. But the job of a Prime Minister is not being asked questions under pressure on a regular basis. I mean, it is a Prime Minister's questions, but it's a different kind of environment. But actually, the job of Prime Minister is being trustworthy, is being competent, is making good decisions for the country, and he is evidenced with great skill and aplomb that he can do that.
Well, we'll see about that. I suspect he's going to be a much more difficult customer when he's in there, when he has to actually do things. But Mike, thanks very much indeed. Mike Buckley, the political commentator.